Good morning. My name is Allison Chapin. I am a Texas educator. I love teaching. It's always been a passion.
I do want to do some clarification. This is public testimony on the commissioner's comments, which is often we don't know what the commissioner is going to talk about, which comments are going to come up. So this is a little unique of an item, but we also have in the administrative code that the board is to have public testimony for issues under the jurisdiction of the State Board of Education. I know that there's a very significant issue that's happening now with Houston ISD as it relates to the Commissioner of Education of the Texas Education Agency. The State Board of Education does not have any authority whatsoever over what's happening at Houston ISD. Every state does that different. I have other states that I'm aware of that their State Board of Education does do that. Our state board has no authority over anything that's happening at Houston ISD. So we do need to limit testimony to items that fall under the jurisdiction of the State Board of Education.
Remember, we are here to deliver the People's Report on the Takeover in advance of this Mike Morass report that I hope he will give to the State Board of Ed, which is in your purview. And I'm hoping that suffices. My name is Ruth Kravitz. My children attended HISD schools. I was Teacher of the Year for HISD. I was Teacher of the Year for AP Teacher of the Year for HISD. I'm co-founder of Community Voices for Public Ed. We're a multiracial group of parents, teachers, students, and community. We advocate for strong and equitable public schools for all children, which of course is within the purview of the State Board of Ed, including children with learning disabilities, which the commissioner spoke about, children who are new to this nation, children who sleep 4 to bed in apartments without air conditioning or without food. Here's some things that are happening in Houston. Superintendent Mike Miles is harming our kids, particularly our students with disabilities. He has gotten rid of speech therapists, school psychologists, the autism support team, and the homeless department. There are many, many, many more classrooms than ever before without special ed teachers who are certified, being taught by aides, being taught by assistants, being taught by people who don't have college degrees. Every day, are we going to count the time when I was chatting with you?
Yes.
Okay. This is real stuff happening in real time, and we ask that you investigate special education and other violations of the law. Since Mike Miles has been here, we need your help. Thank you so much. And so we're submitting complaints through the official channels, but we wanted to make sure that the State Board of Ed and the Commissioner of Texas Education Agency Commission will investigate these special ed violations to the full extent of the law. So I appreciate you.
Very appropriate.
Great.
I want to tell you about the high-quality instructional material that Houston ISD has created and its impact on student outcomes. Every teacher in every course subject is provided a scripted curriculum. I use the term curriculum loosely because it's not a curriculum. It's a PowerPoint presentation comprising of 5 to 10 slides with built-in timers, worksheets, and note cards. While this may be a way for untrained teachers to present information to students, experienced teachers know the value of hands-on, activity-driven lessons for various learning and ability levels. How does this impact students? Students that are not on grade level internalize this and feel like failures. Campuses are seeing an uptick in students with anxieties, meltdown, crying, and fighting. The fun of learning is removed from the classroom. Does this sound like high-quality instructional material to you? Reading a script is not teaching. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm going to tell you now, whatever I'm saying is probably going to fall outside of your purview. But as people who consider yourselves to be in a position of authority around education, you should care about what's going on in our district and our schools. We have children that are being underserved, and they are going to grow up and be members of this society. They will be your neighbors. They will be your teachers, your doctors, or they'll be the people who will not be able to care for themselves, and they will be your future criminals. It is extremely unfair that we have an uncertified superintendent in our district. Somebody who does not care about education, who does not care about our children. If my child is dyslexic, she is not getting what she needs from school, and she is not the only one. I understand that you have a job to do. I also understand that these concerns may not fall into your purview, but you have to understand that this is what we felt like we had to do to get an audience with Mike Morath, who's not even here. He never once came and addressed our communities about this takeover. And now we are stuck. We have lost our democratic ability to make decisions about our children's education. And this is what we've had to do. We got on a bus at 5 a.m. this morning from Houston, Texas. We shouldn't have had to do that. I should be at work. They should be at work. We should be doing anything else but this. This is unfair. It is unjust. We are at the risk of losing a generation of children. We are losing educators by the day. We are losing students by the day. And for what? A political game that our children, our black and brown children, are in the middle of.
Ask him one question for parents like yourself who want the best for their children. What would that one question be?
But I guess the biggest question that I have is, what is student-centered about this decision that he made with the stroke of a pen to remove our democratic ability to make decisions about our children's education? We found out over the summer, months before school started, that this takeover was happening. My son in high school lost his principal a month before school started. You can't tell me you care about kids when you're making those kind of drastic changes right before the instructional year begins.
Do you have any data on how many teachers in Houston ISD have left the district since the takeover a few months ago?
Using the Chronicle and Houston Landings investigation, they did a PIR on left and right. So there are probably, by the end of this semester, hundreds of teachers, probably 3 or 4 times the number of teachers will have left HISD because of this takeover. This won't help kids.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I would like to hear from Ms. Kravitz. I heard that the materials and the presentation methods really sound to me like rote learning and rather punitive, and not according to the research that promotes good learning. Could you just elaborate a little bit on what kinds of materials you're receiving, aside, in contrast to what you might think would be better learning materials and better learning methods?
The way in which teachers are being instructed and reprimanded if they don't comply with teaching is they are asked to provide a PowerPoint lesson every single day in whole group, as if this is 1989 Madeline Hunter sort of educational philosophy. And they give a 20-minute PowerPoint. The kids have 10 minutes to internalize the information. Then they have a 10-minute test at the end of every single day with no accommodations for students with disabilities, with nothing being translated into Spanish. And then the students who do well go to the library and they do another worksheet for the remaining 45 minutes, and students who do poorly stay behind with the teacher, and according to a 5th grade teacher and many others, when they asked if they could at least do small group work with the students who stay behind, who are primarily students with disabilities, special ed students, 504 plans, emerging bilinguals, and so forth, they were told they could not.
Thank you. I believe in the teaching trade that's called death by PowerPoint.
Hi, I'm a first-generation Mexican-American. I have 3 kids in HISD with 504 plans and an IEP. The directives given by Mike force teachers to choose between following a child's IEP, 504 plan, or keeping their job, but they can't do both. Denying access to libraries, certified teachers, equitable learning opportunities, and programs to children based on race and zip code is discrimination. Long-lasting harm is being inflicted on our children and community. And I just want to mention that I shouldn't have had to hire a special education advocate to get the appropriate services for my child. Not everyone can afford that. And I learned so much from her. There are things that we are not told. I did not know about functional behavior evaluations. I didn't know that Texas Workforce Commission provides services to kids like mine.
Hi, I am a Houston ISD teacher. Our superintendent's decisions have decimated our special education system.
Sir, if I can interrupt, any concerns about Houston ISD would need to be directed to Houston ISD or the Commissioner of Education. So please speak to any item that fall under the jurisdiction of the State Board of Education.
Okay, I guess I need some clarification because he did mention the takeover and he did mention special education. So I'm happy to speak, but I just need to understand
Right,
what
so
the
just
guidelines
for let me answer her question, and I'll call on you. So
Can we get an opinion from the legal team in terms of the administrative code? Because I think the reason why these people from Houston ISD are here is because they're under a state takeover by the Texas Education Agency. We are standing in the Texas Education Agency's room. So if they can't even go to their local ISD meetings because the superintendent has planned demo days during the same time that they have their local board meetings, why would this not be the correct forum? So can we get legal to weigh in on that?
opinion on the legal counsel on that?
I don't know what the best forum for these folks are, but I'm not seeing it being here because that's not your job.
What's your point of inquiry?
So, just to be clear, we didn't know the commissioner would be talking about special education today. So the commissioner can come and decide to talk about whatever he wants to, and we have very little jurisdiction over special education. So he can come and choose something we have little jurisdiction over, and now folks that come to testify, they can't really say anything because it's based on what we are supposed to have authority over. So now the commissioner has limited everybody's conversation just because he specifically and intentionally chose to talk about something that we don't really have much authority over. Is that correct?
I just need to know what I'm allowed to say. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I'm going to lose my job for being here. Can you just listen to what I have to say?
I'll listen and I'll just continue along, and if it falls outside the bounds, I'll let you know.
Okay. Hi, I'm a Houston ISD teacher. Our superintendent's decisions have decimated our special education system. This summer he fired half of the curriculum department, and as a result the curriculum this year has been so bad that the district has had to tell us not to use it. I am an ESL teacher, and the district didn't even bother to make an ESL curriculum this year. I am expected to teach students who entered the country 3 months ago the same ELA material that fluent English speakers are learning. I have never experienced working conditions like this. Every week there's a new bizarre decree from the district. Desks must be arranged in pairs. Coloring is not allowed at school. We may not use the word game in a lesson plan. Lesson plans must not be written on recycled paper. Classroom lights must be on, including during pre-K nap time. In some schools, disciplinary infractions must not be reported so the numbers look better. And the most heartbreaking to me, students may not silently read books in class. Sustained silent reading is one of the TEKs, and suddenly it's forbidden. If they catch me following Texas law by having my kids read books, I can lose my job, just like teachers can lose their jobs for providing legally required special education accommodations to students. We are being forced to ignore state and federal law and our own consciences, and our students are the ones who lose. Morale among teachers is wrecked. According to a survey of 800 HISD teachers, only 14% of us are definitely planning to return next year. As for me, I love my students and my school, but I don't know if I can work for Mike Miles another year.
This is my 4th year as an HISD teacher. I have 2 education degrees. I'm seeking my doctorate in education psychology, and I have never been more disappointed in a district-mandated curriculum than the one that has been provided for us this year. Not only does it come a week before we're intended to teach it, it's full of errors. It is often not aligned to the standard that it says it's supposed to be. They don't come with lesson plans. We have to read them and practice them over and over because someone else made a bad lesson, and we have to fix them And then on top of that, we have to take all of the data that we know about all of our variety of students and implement them into the lesson to make it work. And it still doesn't work. And it's destroying your teachers. And the environment that we're working in is destroying their spirits, and in turn, it is destroying the students' motivation towards education. They know that it doesn't matter if they get a 0 or a 100 on their test that they take every single lesson, because regardless, they're going to give them a packet that doesn't give them practice and doesn't give them instructions that actually teach them what they need to do.
We can
How is it legal for them to distribute curriculum to students that has not been approved?
We did. Yes.
Okay. As you can tell, we're here to ask for help, and I'm talking about the adopted materials and speech services and the effect on a student. Would that be all right? I'm speaking on behalf of Erica Garcia, a first-generation Mexican-American and a mother with 4 children in Texas schools. And I wanted to talk to you about how this school year has been for these students. From the adopted materials to accommodation that the children are entitled to, they're suffering. The children come home every day crying and telling the mom that they didn't learn or enjoy school as before. The high school students feel like a failure. They're not retaining information. And I want to know, how do I motivate my children where there's nothing for them to look forward to? Nothing is inspiring them to learn, and it has never been like this. The things teachers are being forced to teach are on an agenda. They're micromanaged every minute. They don't have time to explain, to break down or level for accommodations as required by the ADA. And not all children learn the same, so not all teachers should be expected to teach the same. I feel there's no respect for the special ed needs or the law. My speech-delayed son had more services during COVID than he has had this school year. My daughter's accommodations require frequent bathroom breaks, and due to the changes in the school system, she's been afraid to go, and she has urinated on herself more than 3 times a week. Every week I've complained, and nothing has changed. This was supposed to improve special education, and it is much worse.
Hi, my name is Christy McDaniel. I have a BA in government and a master's degree in teaching from the University of Virginia. For the past 4 years, I have been a history teacher in Houston ISD. I love teaching. I miss my students every single day. And although my life has been upended by the callous decision to terminate my contract, our kids are the ones who are suffering the most from the state takeover. The school I worked at in Houston's East End was consistently an A-rated campus. It earned a National Blue Ribbon Award twice. Before Mike Miles took over, my students thrived. They were excited to come to school, they asked questions, they got to do projects in all their classes, they went on field trips to colleges and places like NASA, they had qualified, certified teachers in every single classroom, and they got the special education services that they needed. But not anymore. Not with Miles' NES model. HISD is losing qualified, certified teachers like me who have put their heart and soul into this profession, and that should alarm you. Our kids are being deprived of a quality public education. They are being deprived of opportunities, and that should alarm you. This takeover needs to end. Our children deserve better.
Sarah Terrell. I'm a grandparent of an HISD student. I'm speaking today about the presentation on HISD that Marath did not present, though he was asked to by this board. Marath is data-driven, and one data point that I'd like to give you is $250 million. That's what Miles, Mike's appointee, is spending that we know of on his new education system.
Sarah.
I'm just going to talk a little bit about how much state money is going to waste. And I know that's not, with all due respect, HISD is the largest district in this state. This Takeover is the largest of its kind ever in this state. It's absolutely groundbreaking. And I think there's stuff that you need to know about it that he failed to present, even though he was asked to present it. But he's spending it wantonly on $5,000 of new gear in our classrooms, layers of overhead, coaches, observers, assistant principals in every school. His NES system of micromanagement is very expensive.
Call the next testifier.
Well, I'm not a teacher, and I can't beg for my job. I'm not a parent, and I'm not going to beg for my kids' special ed needs. But what I am is a taxpayer, and my money is being wasted on this stuff. We had a huge surplus, $1.2 billion. About 700 of it is spendable. The rest is a reserve. He's blowing it.
Sarah, please.
$250 million, and we don't even know what we're getting, except that it's not being spent on special ed. It's not being spent on the criteria that we're supposed to achieve to exit the takeover.
That's your time.
One more of those.
Sarah.
Miles leads the board.
I'm trying to be very,
the board votes unanimously in his favor on everything.
Disrespect us, ignore us. You never listen to us. Do you really care about us? I'm Sister Mama Sonia, community activist from HISD. Now, I went to your website, since we're only supposed to talk to what you have under your purview, and it says establishing graduation requirements. If our children are not educated, how can they graduate? Now, NHISD, with all of these new policies, is making it very difficult for our students to even learn. Our students come home crying. Our students come home upset. Can you imagine if any of you right now had to go to the restroom? Can you imagine picking up a big cone to take it? Because that's what our students have to do. They don't have hall passes. They have to take cones. Can you imagine, while we're talking, someone comes in who's supposed to be an overseer or whatever and interrupt the teaching while you're talking and correct you in front of all of the students, and the students can't say anything?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jessie Hyder, and I volunteer. I have volunteered at my neighborhood elementary school, Wainwright Elementary, for almost a decade. I helped start the parent and community organization on campus, and I served on the board for several years. I am licensed by this wonderful state of Texas to be a child care director, and I have provided after-school enrichment care to students at our school. Many have become family to me. 95% of students at Wainwright are Black or Hispanic. 94% are economically disadvantaged, and 16% receive special education services, which is twice the average of HISD. Thank you, Sister Mama Sonia. Wainwright is one of the 85 HISD schools Mr. Miles has labeled as a new education system school.
Even in additional time, I need you to stick to the items the State Board of Jurisdiction.
Thank you. That's perfect timing. We are one of 37 HISD schools that don't have a speech therapist assigned to our campus, even though we have students that require those services. Mr. Miles removed the librarian position at our schools, and our library was repurposed into a team center.
Jesse, those are still
our former librarian is now one of 2 Art of Thinking teachers. Perfect. Thank you for bringing that up, because Art of Thinking directly relates to TEACS. Art of Thinking is a curriculum that Mr. Miles brought in from his 10-school charter network, and it is being taught in the 85 NES school systems. I did a public records request, and none of this curriculum, it has a spot for notes, and one of the entire year's lesson is related to TEACS. Everything else does not have a TEAC objective. In fact, I brought an example. One of them is the objectives are 1, understand the purpose of propaganda, 2, recognize propaganda in communications, and 3, identify propaganda techniques. Is this something, so again, to just reiterate, our librarian was removed, our librarian position was removed, and we now have 2 teachers that are teaching about propaganda and in the Art of Thinking that Mr. Miles brought in. And again, this is only happening at the 85 schools that are predominantly Black and brown, and happening at my school. If this were happening to students that looked like me, this would not be happening. And you would all be in just as much of arms as we are here today.
Thank you.
Mr. Miles is harming students. His policies are not new or innovative. They are simply outdated and rewritten with modern verbiage. Please replace Mr. Miles and restore our elected board. I know that is not in your purview, but you have a voice, and we need to amplify our voices. I shout it out to the rooftops.
Is there any other questions for this group of testifiers?
Thank you, Sister Wilson.
I'm very nervous because I came here thinking that maybe you guys could save us, but it doesn't seem that way. Hello, my name is Jessica Campos, and I am a high school dropout, and I have a 9th grade education. I have no degree or specialize in any area of expertise, but I am a PTO mom, a Girls on the Run coach, a Girl Scout troop leader, and I am most importantly a mother of 3 children with disabilities, and today I am here as the voice of my community and mother of all. I am here to provide the update that was not provided by Mr. Morath. Like many in my community, I didn't quite understand what the takeover meant, but I did quickly realize that it wasn't about helping us.
Ma'am, please speak to
The new education system Mike Miles has forced upon our schools is directly targeted towards our economically disadvantaged Black and brown schools. This is not about providing equity or a better future for our children. This change is hurting our school communities. I have received calls from frustrated mothers, stressed out teachers, and exhausted Girl Scouts and Girls on the Run students daily. I hear the cries of my people, and I have cried with my people. It feels like we need to be saved from the atrocities CEA is inflicting on us. Since June, our A-rated elementary school has lost 22 teachers. The happiness that you felt once walking through the halls of our amazing school is no longer present. It feels like a prison for our children. Today, teachers who were once so full of life are living in fear of losing their jobs for speaking out about the new education system. Children experience anxiety and stress every day, exhausted from the DOL timers and testing. Parents are kept in the dark and our concerns are ignored. I, once a PTO president at Pew, am now treated as a delinquent for voicing my concerns and speaking out to the media. It's been 3 months and I have not yet received an ARD meeting for my dyslexic child to discuss my child's 504 plan, and it is unclear if she is even receiving her accommodations. Parents no longer have a voice. Teachers are demoralized and forced to teach scripted curriculum. The NES curriculum was created by an artificial intelligence that can't even differentiate what is appropriate for children. Teachers are literally correcting the curriculum as they go. When Mike Miles said we are going to fly a plane and build it too, he wasn't kidding. Libraries are replaced with team rooms that look and feel like segregation rooms.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Maria Benzon. I'm speaking on special ed and the RDA system. I'm a parent of a 4th grader. I'm a former math teacher from San Antonio ISD, a regional instructor for Texas Instruments, a professor at the University of Houston teaching math and science majors to be teachers, a PhD graduate in educational psychology, an assistant principal at traditional schools and residential treatment centers. I campaigned to be a school board trustee. I was born to be an educator. In the district where I work, special ed teachers are being replaced with paraprofessionals. Teachers are rushed to complete Amplify, Eureka, and Carnegie lessons, and special ed and emergent bilingual students are being left behind. Certified teachers and principals have been replaced by uncertified and inexperienced apprentices. Certified teachers and principals quit because they refuse to do harm to special ed children. Special ed professionals are being fired for asking questions. As a teacher in the new model, I've seen classrooms become sterile, with bare walls and worksheets. I've tried to provide SPED, 504, and LPAC accommodations like extended time in small groups, but it wasn't allowed. I've heard from stressed teachers planning to leave the district. Under these circumstances, we will never meet the 3 exit criteria for the takeover to end. Therefore, I urge you to tell Mr. Morath to reinstate an elected board, to replace Mr. Miles with a certified superintendent who will improve special ed, support emergent bilinguals, and respect and value input from educators, community members, parents, and students. I will follow up with the grievance process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya Sampson?
Yes.
I'm speaking on one specific but very glaring failure to act to close the achievement gaps amongst Black and brown students and socioeconomically disadvantaged students by the appointed board of manager and superintendent in that school district.
So we can speak to broadband, but not necessarily what's happening specifically at Houston ISD. That would need to go through Houston ISD.
I'm here as a concerned citizen, not a teacher, not a principal of Houston and the state of Texas, to speak on behalf of all teachers who can't speak for fear of being fired. And teachers are constantly being monitored to make sure that their obedience stand up all day, keeping doors open, not allowing students to use restrooms, etc., and being fired if they do so. Then replace certified teachers with non-certified teachers, and you think that's going to improve quality of education? This has to stop now. My question is, who's monitoring the monitors of the monitor? Who's monitoring dictator Mike Miles? My suggestion is, why don't you, Ms. Morath, who has a jurisdiction and authority, he has jurisdiction and authority to appoint him, he has jurisdiction and authority to remove him. Why don't you, Ms. Morath, come to Houston yourself and see why, I'm sorry, the bell just rung. There's only so much we can do, but however, Ms. Morath, you have the power to stop the bleeding. Why don't you life flight yourself to Houston? Check on the body of HISD that's losing blood daily.
Well, I'm the newly elected District 2 trustee in HISD, and I live in 5th Ward, where that school, Phyllis Wheatley, is. I have 3 children, a graduating senior who will be going to Howard University on an Army ROTC scholarship. I have 2 gifted and talented children in 8th grade. I am a Howard University graduate. I used to be a foster kid, lived in a homeless shelter. I was an Army Ranger for 7 years. I know you have the intent about impact when the most disrespected employee in America is a public teacher, and today a public teacher cried. Please listen to us. Please give the time to make the change that we need. In my own school, there's no clean water. Out of my own pocket, I have to pay for speakers, pay for an ice machine, and throughout the school, I feed 1,200 people every week. There are issues within our school. We need wraparound services of special needs. So please, in your position, I understand your purview, but we're actually on the ground just like I was as a ranger, and I'm telling you as the officer, we need your help. And so I